All right, testing. Can you folks out there hear me? I'm gonna wait until I get some confirmation in the chat here, because I'm notorious for screwing up these live streams somehow. Having a setting clicked wrong or something. I'm seeing a yes. A couple of yeses, loud and clear. Okay, cool. Let me begin our transition here. There we go. All right, welcome to the MetalMercs relaunch live stream. I'm actually gonna turn MetalMercs' music on here again. Keep it down a little bit though, so you guys can actually hear me here today. Turn the sound effects down a bit too. Let's see. That's probably good. All right, guys, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. So for those of you who have followed MetalMercs since the beginning, you guys know the deal. MetalMercs began its life as a BattleTech fan project. I'm a huge lifelong fan of BattleTech. I love it. Crescent Hawks games were some of my favorite games growing up. And, you know, what I did, this crazy thing that I did at one point, was I made a fan game to emulate and recreate them. And I kept adding stuff, adding features. It went on and on and on. And at a certain point, I sort of realized I wanted to keep going, but it had to become its own thing for a variety of reasons. So I give you today MetalMercs. It's sort of the soft relaunch of the game. It's not just a reskin, though, of BattleMercs like we had before. There's lots of new features, and there's many more that I have planned. So yeah, I'll be showing that off here today. And I think, as I said in the video that, you know, set up this live stream, the idea is I'm going to start putting out demos. And so in MetalMercs, there's 5 new major houses. Each demo is going to introduce a new house till we have all the houses. And then from there, we're going to start introducing more eras and stuff. And I have plans of sort of waves of features to introduce. But today, we're going to focus on the first house. And I'm just going to, you know, play around, answer questions, show you guys some of the new features, and yeah, kind of go from there. Somebody asked, is the sound and music original or carried over? So the music right now is carried over from the BattleMercs version of the game. Although I have a sound guy. So one of the other things that's sort of changed is that now that, you know, MetalMercs now technically has no BattleTech association, is I can actually start getting donations and support and stuff for this game. So there's a Patreon, there's a PayPal account that you can just make one-time donations to. And really, you know, if you're in a position where, you know, you can't spare $5, seriously, don't sweat it. You know, like, I'm not looking to get money out of people who really can't afford it. So keep your money. You'll still be able to play the demos. That's cool. But, you know, if you're able to throw $5-10 my way, or even $5 on a monthly basis, which would be really awesome, where that money is going to go is to try and pay some talented people who I've been encountering as BattleMercs was growing. So I have like an artist, I have a music guy, actually there's a couple of artists, and they've been doing some stuff for free in the past, but, you know, if we really want to get them to produce more stuff, I feel like I need to pay them a bit more. So, you know, I'm a reasonable guy. Well, whatever the Patreon or the donations end up being, it's what they end up being, and we'll just work with what we got. But that's sort of the mentality of where we're starting to go. And while you'll probably hear a little more push for me to remind you guys that the Patreon exists, but anyway, it's not a requirement to play. So today we'll play the demo a bit, and then the demo will come out, and patrons will get to play it, you know, tonight. And in about a week, it's going to relaunch for the public, and just anyone will be able to play it, so donation or no. And then there's going to be another demo shortly after that. So, yeah, lots to look forward to. Anyway, without further ado, oh, and I think I didn't even answer that question. So the music is, the sounds have mostly carried over, but I've replaced some of the sounds, and you'll see sort of the weapon systems have changed a bit in MetalMercs compared to BattleTech. I would say MetalMercs is a game that has a lot of BattleTech in its DNA, so it might feel sort of like a cousin of BattleTech, but it's also sort of meant to be a bit of its own thing. But you know, as I've long said, the whole design philosophy around the MetalMercs engine is that it is designed to be modder friendly. So basically the Battletech campaigns that we made for BattleMercs, there are some changes that would need to be made to it, and I may do that at some point, you know, myself, but you can bring that into MetalMercs, and then you could play a Battletech mod of MetalMercs. So I think, as somebody said in the comments of the announcement video, a game that started out as a Battletech fan game and then has become its own thing, you can now mod it back into a Battletech game if you want. So there you go. It's sort of a snake eating its own tail. Let's hop into the campaign here. If you guys have questions or anything along the way, I've got the chat here open up, so I'm happy to answer questions. Just shoot them out as we go, but otherwise I'll just kind of talk and play, and we'll go as we go. But this is the new universe that we're going to be playing in. It's an area called the Core, and I will say I'm not 100% settled on the exact borders of everything, and there's a mechanic in the game that you'll see here today that is going to be on in the demo. It's a mechanic that is going to be used more in the later eras. So the 5016 era is sort of like the base era. This is the era where if you just want to sort of play around and fight within the core, this is the era that you would pick. The other eras are going to have the option to leave the core, and as I reveal those eras eventually, I'll kind of explain how that will work. But essentially, the way the game works right now is it randomly generates the star map every time the game is launched. So even though you can sort of see the borders of the 5 houses here, that's just a screen grab from an earlier build. When we actually go to the starport, you'll see the borders will look slightly differently, and that's because you know, it's being randomly generated right now. I originally thought maybe I would just leave that on. It'd be kind of fun. Every time you play, the whole universe is randomly generated. But then what I realized is it's a pain in the butt to figure out where every planet is. Like if you want to go to a specific planet, you're like, where the hell did that spawn this time? And it's actually more annoying than anything. So I think the core map is going to be stable ultimately. But you know, beyond the core, that is going to be a little more interesting. Somebody asked how many total planets in the core. So my idea was I wanted to keep it smaller than what we had in the BattleMercs one, where we had, like, you know, however many, like 100 or whatever inner sphere planets. So where I've started is every house has 9 planets. And the reason I wanted to keep it smaller is so that every planet could actually have a reason to go there, or could at least have something going on. When you have like 200 planets, they kind of eventually all blend together, and it's like, what's the difference between, you know, Capella and, I don't know. Well, Capella's a capital, isn't it? Well, anyway, you know what I mean. You could just pick 2 random planets from, like, you know, the Free Worlds League and the Lyran Commonwealth. Like, what's the difference between them? It's like, well, besides one is run by one house or the other, they're pretty much the same. So by having fewer planets, the idea is to make them perhaps actually have stuff going on that's more unique. Also, I think the scale of the universe in MetalMercs is a little different from Battletech. So, you know, yeah, I'll just leave it at that for now. But yeah, so about 9 to 10 planets each, and there's a couple special planets. So this is the first house that you're going to get to play as. And, you know, the other houses are actually in their release order. So there's a little Easter egg for you in case you're curious. So, you know, not to get ahead of ourselves, but the next demo that will come down the pipeline in a couple of weeks is going to reveal the Sovereignty, and then you'll be able to play as the Union or the Sovereignty, then eventually the Imperium, and so on. And again, until we've built out all the houses, and then the eras will start to become a thing. So, but in case you didn't watch the video, in case you want a little refresher, the Confederate Vanguard Union, these guys are like the Marines in space. And I don't necessarily mean the Space Marines like a la Warhammer or something like that. But I mean, like, literally, if you had like a society run by like the US military, you know, this would basically be it. So they're kind of authoritarian. They're kind of hot-headed. But they're pretty effective as a military, and they're quite good with logistics. So, you know, they're one of the factions that you can play as. They also have mechs that are most similar to sort of, I think, classic 3025 era BattleTech mechs, which is another reason why we're starting with them. Some of the other factions will have slightly more interesting perks to them. And so as we move through the different factions with future demos, you'll get to see some of the features that differentiate MetalMercs a little from BattleTech. Again, very BattleTech DNA-ish game, but also has its own stuff going on. So Union Mechs mount a range of traditional weaponry such as lasers, autoguns, cannons, rockets, missiles. They field more efficient cooling systems than rival powers, so you can kind of think like double heat sinks, although it's not quite that effective. And so they're able to stay in battle for prolonged periods of time. One thing I should also mention is that the heat scale in MetalMercs works quite a bit differently than in BattleTech. Or I should say than BattleMercs, because I know BattleMercs didn't use the exact BattleTech heat scale. But essentially in MetalMercs, you can never be shut down from having too much heat. You'll just start to move slower and slower. If your heat gets too high, then eventually your mech will start melting from the inside, so the internal structure will start to degrade, even if you're not taking hits because your mech's too hot. Lastly, the heat scale goes from 0 to 100 instead of 0 to 30. So some subtle differences there, but you'll see the weapons have been balanced differently to sort of take that into account. So in MetalMercs, your mechs tend to run hotter than you would see in BattleMercs. All right, Poverly Silver. That is a weird name. Let's keep going. Harrison Wolt, Ethan Rosak, Boom Shakalaka Strong Blossom. Now that's a name. I won't spend too much on this. Jetta Sage Spark. Interesting. I'm spending way too much time on this. How about Outlaw? Outlaw will be my call sign. And we'll go with the dude. Boom Shakalaka is a good name. Now, I know people in the past have asked for things like, can we actually select portraits instead of going to randomize? And yeah, eventually I'll figure out a way to put that in. It's kind of a low priority thing because it would take a little while to add the code in to do, and there's so many other, you know, important gameplay things that I want to add, but I have heard that before, and I think it would be nice to be able to actually pick your portrait, so we'll work on that in a future release one day. Let's see. How about... kind of like the idea of a beardy dude. I kind of skipped that beardy guy, but maybe... okay, there's a beardy-ish guy. The Outlaw Spade. He digs where others fear to tread. Petition to eventually have a Boom Shakalaka mech. Now that would be interesting. Another feature too that you'll notice in this demo is in the BattleMercs game, you know, we had wages and morale, random events, RPG combat. A lot of that stuff has sort of been pulled out temporarily. It's not gone out of the engine. It's just, as we're sort of rebuilding the universe, some of the extra stuff is just not ready for prime time. So basically you can have wages or not. I'll just leave them off to keep it simple today. Plus, who actually pays their employees? That's a ridiculous notion. Okay, Hammer Mach's Glorious Nighthawks. It's an interesting name. The Ancient Heavies. I kind of like that. We're going with it. And I'll start with on very easy, just so we can start nice and established. Okay, so here's the sort of splash screen. Welcome to MetalMercs. You get a bit of info. You guys all basically know this. I've kind of already said it. The demos, by the way, are going to have expiration dates, you know, just so that as we push out newer demos, we'll just sort of keep everyone on pace with getting the newer ones. Although I have said that patrons could get time unlimited demos, but that might come later just because these early demos where you only have like 1 or 2 houses, it just makes sense to have these be like limited. You play it. By the time it expires, there's a better one out anyway, so you just go get that one. Your save games from an earlier demo should generally be compatible with future demos, but you know, as people, you know, during the BattleMercs era experienced, as we add stuff to the engine, it's possible we create incompatibilities with previous versions. So, you know, just sort of keep that in mind. But here's your news flash for the year 5016. So this marks the height of the Age of Balance. Though the core appears to exist in a relative state of peace, simmering tensions between the great houses threaten to erupt at any moment. While the central core worlds deal mostly with periodic bandit raiders, near the fringe, houses use mercenaries to raid and harass one another. The Star Regent works tirelessly to keep the houses in line, but conflict is unavoidable. And yet beyond the fringe, Starcom reports of forces more advanced than those in the core, forces that may be gathering, though many dismiss these concerns as hearsay and rumor, others are not so sure. A MetalMerc in this era has their pick of work from any of the great houses. Each of the major houses are eager to employ mercenaries to supplement their forces and carry out raids and attacks. Negotiate your contracts well and earn your place in history, mercenary. So yeah, that little blurb there is meant to sort of convey a few things. I mean, you know, give you a flavor of what's kind of going on in the universe. But if we do go take a quick look at the map, you can see, okay, so here's the Confederate Vanguard Union. We're the orange guys. And you can check out all the different planets. So I'll sort of scroll over them. You could later on pause and read if you want. Or, I mean, you'll be able to read this in the demo. But these are some of the planets in the Confederate Vanguard Union. And essentially, all the houses in the core are basically allies, you know. And that's because the Star Regent exists. So this is the capital planet, Citadel. This is where sort of the seat of power is. The thing is, these houses don't necessarily want to be allied. And if the Star Regent wasn't around, they might actually openly fight. But they're sort of all loyal to the Star Regent, so they sort of have to be at peace. So if you get near the Citadel, the kinds of contracts that you would get would be basically against bandits and raiders. If you start to get near the fringe out here, this is where you could start to get a contract that's like, hey, why don't you actually attack these guys? Or over here, why don't you attack these guys? So they sort of, in the year 5016 at least, they're sort of fighting a little more discreetly. But it's sort of an open secret that the houses aren't so chummy once you get off Citadel. Okay. So let's check out the Mech Bay, and we can take a look at some of the mechs, and then we'll take a look at some contracts and stuff and just go from there. So the Mech Bay has changed a little bit. One of the biggest changes from the BattleMercs days are that rather than having like a parts store and a mech store and a like buy mech and a sell mech option stuff, it's all just basically now in one store. So you can basically come to this one, you know, trading spot. You can look at parts, mods, or mechs, and we'll talk about each. And you can see your inventory, and you can see what's for sale, and you can just, you know, get whatever you want. So right now the demo is limited solely to Union mechs. And I should say too, actually, that even the pirates and bandits are piloting Union mechs. One of the things that is going to be a little different in MetalMercs compared to BattleTech is in BattleTech, pretty much every house and faction had access to most mechs. There were some mechs that were exclusive or predominant in one house compared to the others, but for the most part, mechs were kind of spread across all the factions, and you know, any mech really could appear almost in any faction. Again, there are some exceptions, but in MetalMercs, every faction really does sort of wield its own mechs, and it'd be rare to see a faction wielding a mech that doesn't belong to them. Just as weird as to see like the US Army rolling out with like, you know, Russian or Chinese tanks or something. Like, they just wouldn't do it. They have American tanks. So, you know, the Union is going to have their own mechs, the Sovereignty is going to have their own mechs, the Imperium is going to have their own mechs, and even the Pirates and Bandits and Raiders are going to have their own mechs. Now, the Pirates and Bandits and Raiders will also sometimes use house mechs because they're like scavengers sometimes, but there will be mechs that none of the houses field that are kind of fielded by third parties. So, yeah, so here's some of the mechs. So we're starting off with a Patriot, Crossfire, Firebrands, Alpha Wolf. I guess I should talk about some of the weapons, maybe. And these are the mechs that are for sale. Again, these are all like Union mechs. So here, why don't we do this? Oh yeah, somebody says, wow, 1,000-ton chonker. Yeah, so actually, here's one other sort of lore piece that differentiates MetalMercs from BattleTech is the scale of mechs. So this is sort of something that fans have discussed over the years. Just the fact that if you actually had an Atlas and it weighed 100 tons and it was the size it would basically be like a hot air balloon because it's so big, it would have like no density. It would basically float away. And I legit thought of that a lot when I was creating MetalMercs. And so I basically have mechs on a totally different scale. Well, not totally different, just a heavier scale than BattleTech. So, mechs in BattleMercs tend to be a little shorter than in BattleTech, and they tend to weigh about 10 times as much. And again, the Union mechs are kind of like most comparable to classic BattleTech mechs, so that's why you kind of get a scale going up to 1,000 tons. But there are some houses that cap out at 850. There are other houses that go beyond 1,000. So, you know, 1,000-ton mech is approximately equivalent to like a 100-ton mech in the BattleTech universe. Somebody asked, will there be smaller units like tanks and infantry? There will be some vehicles and missions, and that's actually carryover. We had that in BattleMercs. There's not plans at the moment to make those things that you can like buy and take into combat, but it's, you know, not something that is impossible. And indeed, even with BattleMercs, I think some of the fans made mods that, because the vehicles are in the game, they made mods where the vehicles would show up in stores, so you could buy them and then you could use them. So, yeah. But, so the tonnage of mechs has a little bearing on them, but the thing that really matters is their size. Oh, and by the way, so you'll notice the lists have gotten a significant upgrade, so you can sort things by name now and by tons and price. So this is something you couldn't do in BattleMercs, and this is just, you know, it seems like a minor programming thing. It took a lot to get it to do that, actually. It's kind of a pain to program, but it is such a huge quality of life enhancement to be able to sort things like this. So yeah, it's just one of the little things there. So if you're looking for a mech, it's easy to find. But yes, so size. So basically, when you take contracts, you will have X amount of deployment size. So maybe you might be able to take in 6 units into battle, and you can't go past 20 units in size. So that means that you have to think more about, rather than how much mechs weigh, you have to think about their size. And so their size parameter generally correlates with tonnage, but it's not a one-to-one correlation. And there's even some factions where their mechs, you know, might weigh the same as a Union mech, but they actually are slightly smaller in terms of size. And then so you could actually take more mechs into battle if you had mechs from that faction. So that's just another property that exists now in MetalMercs. Would mechs have the same passive abilities like laser anti-missile systems or armor that reduces damage from lasers? Yes, so let's just jump ahead for a second and talk about something called mods, which is not something that's totally foreign to the BattleTech universe, but it's something that, you know, in the 3050 and beyond era, I think you saw more pieces of equipment like this. But in MetalMercs, the idea is that there are going to be a bunch of different mods, and some of them have subtle effects, and some of them have costs and benefits. And you can basically sort of deck your mech out with all sorts of like little customizations to optimize it. So for instance, here's a piece, and by the way, the mods aren't fully balanced yet, so, you know, they might be too cheap or too expensive or not take up enough tonnage or whatever, but here's a few that are for sale right now. So this is a fast feeder. It decreases the cycle time, but increases the heat of cannons. So if you have any mechs with cannons, so let's see, I think my Crossfire here. It has one medium caliber cannon. In MetalMercs, the cannons are Vulcan cannons. That's just what they're called. So this is a medium caliber Vulcan cannon. If I want, I could buy the fast feeder mod. I could modify my mech. I'd have to free up a ton of space. That's what this size is. But if I put a fast feeder on the body part that has the cannon, that cannon now reloads faster but generates more heat. So that's one of the little mods you could do. You can have a fast ion charger, which affects high energy cannons, which are similar to PPCs but different. Enhanced coils, Devastator. So this is ammo. You could swap out the standard missile ammo for Devastator ammo, which does an extra point of damage per missile, but significantly, it basically turns off their ability to track enemies. So the missiles are now unguided, so their accuracy drops significantly. But then you could maybe compensate for that by adding a rangefinder to your missile system, which increases the range of the missile, or, here's Firestorm rockets. So there's all sorts of different little pieces of equipment that can do things. And things like an anti-missile system, that is still in MetalMercs, but some of the things that existed in BattleTech will still exist in MetalMercs, but they'll be like very rare equipment that, you're not going to see in this demo, and it may take until we get to other eras where you guys start to see where they're going to come in, but essentially there's going to be lots of cool pieces of equipment that you can find, and houses, as I keep saying, are going to have some of their own unique equipment. So that's mods. Here's some of the weapons. Let me do it this way though. Let's go to mod a mech. So yeah, let's mod our crossfire here. So I'll just tell you a little bit about a few of the weapon systems here. So cannons are one of the weapon systems in MetalMercs. They're roughly analogous to autocannons, although even the lightest Vulcan cannon, so like the light Vulcan cannon, it does more damage than like the autocannon 2 ever did. So cannons have a slightly different role in MetalMercs than they did in BattleTech. They're non-energy based weapon, and so one of their properties is they can't be stunned. This is true of any non-energy weapon. So autoguns are kind of like machine guns. Again, they work a little differently, but again, they can't be stunned. Something like a laser, though, can be stunned. And so when I say stunned, one of the weapons, I don't think I have a mech that has it equipped right now. Let's see here. Oh, I do. Okay, one of the weapons are HECs. They're high energy cannons. These are essentially MetalMercs' version of PPCs, but they work differently than they did in BattleTech. First of all, they cause damage to enemy mechs, but they also cause heat to enemy mechs, and they have a chance of stunning enemy weapons. So this is basically like, when a weapon fires at a mech normally, there's like a critical hit roll if the hit goes internal. And there's a chance that weapon might damage or incapacitate one of the weapons on the mech you're hitting. Well, stun effects are things that can happen regardless of how much armor the mech has, so it's sort of like an ongoing effect. And if a weapon gets stunned, it's basically incapacitated for about 6 seconds, and it slowly counts down. Now, 6 seconds sounds like a long time. It's not as big a penalty because usually you have other weapons you're using, but if you're facing a mech that has a bunch of HECs, or you're facing a bunch of mechs that have a bunch of HECs, single mechs can reach a point, if they're all energy based, where they eventually, like, everything's incapacitated. They have to flee and try and let their weapons sort of reboot. So that's one of the new features, or one of the new quirks of weapons, one of the weapons in MetalMercs here. You'll also notice that this is an HEC level 1. This is a light laser level 1. Weapons have different levels in MetalMercs. And in the demo here, I think you only ever see level 1 or level 2 weapons. But essentially, you can, a level 2 HEC would be slightly better than a level 1. It might do a little more damage. It might cause a little less heat. It might reload a little faster. It might weigh a little less. I forget exactly what the level 2 HEC is like compared to level 1, but as you know, if you find like a laser level 2 or a laser level 3, these will be slightly better versions of the weapons you've got. So you can sort of continually scavenge and slowly upgrade your mechs and add more to them as you go. One of the things I really liked about, BattleMercs is playing in the clan era where you'd fight against clanners and you'd be able to salvage like their version of a PPC and swap it out with the Inner Sphere version. Now you'd have a much better version, and your mechs would slowly get more powerful. I really liked that and wanted to sort of bring that in as an actual gameplay element with more levels in MetalMercs. So that's sort of where my thinking was for that. We'll talk a little bit more here, but then we should just hop into a contract and have some fun. Autoguns, these are like the machine guns in Battletech, sort of. They have a longer range, and they come in heavy and standard weight levels. This is a heavy autogun. Autoguns are really designed as really fast fire weapons. So that's one thing that we didn't play with too much. Oh yeah, somebody says, I'm going to confuse L lasers with large. Yeah, it takes a while to wrap your head around it. But I don't know, it's one of those small things where I'm like, I don't want to like just straight up copy Battletech and have it be light, medium, and large lasers. Or sorry, small, medium, and large. So it's like H lasers or the heavy lasers. But yes, reload speed is something that all weapons have and that varies in MetalMercs. So in BattleMercs, every weapon just basically reloaded at the same rate, but in MetalMercs here, they have different reload speeds. And this is basically the Battletech or the MetalMercs equivalent of like a flamer. Again, it has longer range, does more heat damage. There's a little more to it, and it is ammo based. It's not energy based. But here's a regular autogun, so you can see. So autoguns are like fast-firing weapons. They actually have a really high chance of causing critical hits. So that's what this 40% is. So they don't do a ton of damage, and they run out of ammo fast. But if you open fire on a mech who has reduced armor with autoguns, there's a good chance you can start knocking out their weapons. So, that's one of their uses on the battlefield. And I also wanted to mention rockets versus missiles. So rockets are sort of the equivalent of SRMs in the MetalMercs universe. Rockets range from 4, 8, 12, and 24 packs. Although not all houses even have access to the 24 packs, I think. But anyway, so they're kind of the short to mid-range missiles. They're unguided, and they do 1 damage per rocket. So like an 8-pack rocket launcher would do at most 8 damage, but that's if every rocket hits. They're fairly fast in terms of recharging. They don't really do much. They have a low chance of critical hits, but they're just good as sort of like mid-rangey kind of weapons. And when a rocket pack opens and fire, all the rockets just fire instantly. The missile system in MetalMercs is a little different from Battletech in that missile systems, and I modeled this after, how sort of more real-world missile systems work. Missiles are pretty devastating things, like they're these big things that get fired off of the back of trucks and they fly for miles and they land and they like obliterate a block. So in fact, in MetalMercs, every missile does 3 damage. So a 2-pack missile launcher, that's doing 6 damage if both missiles hit. Missile launchers range from 2, 4, or 6 packs. So you could have a 6-pack launcher. And so that could do up to 18 damage if all 6 missiles hit. And when missile launchers fire, they kind of fire in sequence. Again, kind of like if you've ever watched footage of a missile launcher out the back of a truck, you sort of see like one after the other fire really quickly. So you kind of get a stream of missiles flying off. So it's a little aesthetic difference, maybe a little technical difference. But one other thing about MetalMercs is ranges have been increased a lot from the BattleMercs days. So the long range missiles here, the missile system, actually has I think at least 5 or 6 squares further damage or further range than the BattleMercs did. So, you know, there's one other difference. Okay, I think that's... I mean, I feel like that's enough for now. I don't know if you guys have questions or whatever. You can still paint your gear, but I haven't tested this in a while, so I'm not going to try it just in case it crashes the game. But I think that's about it. Oh, and I'll show you guys after a mission, but I added a repair all button, which I know is a long time request, so you don't have to click through and repair all your individual mechs. Oh, one other minor thing, you might notice that we don't have C-bills anymore, for obvious reasons. Now we have K. K is the currency of the core. And I don't particularly have anything in mind that that stands for. You could just think of it as thousands of currencies. In fact, that's the scale that things are on. I have 9K, and it's sort of like I have 9 million C-bills approximately, but, you know, it's just... Everyone just talks about K in the core, and that's the cash. So let me see if we can hire another pilot or two here. Oh, and this is something fun. This is not implemented yet, but this gives you a hint of some of the things that are in the pipeline. Pilots are going to have specialties. So for instance, here's a pilot. If he or she has a specialty of tortures, light weapons, and large mechs, that means she get a bonus for shooting flame-based weapons, a bonus for shooting light weapons, and a bonus when piloting large mechs. So pilots will have, you know, their base skills, but they may also have special little perks. So there might be certain kinds of mechs you want to put certain pilots in. Okay, should we hire one more? Is it actually taking my money away? It should be. It's not. Okay, well, that's a bug. Well, that's handy. I didn't lose any money hiring those pilots. Okay, I'll have to... That might be fixed in this demo, or it might come in a later demo. Pilots are free for now. How about that? That's fun. Oh, here's one other little thing. If you click on the RPG bar up here, it will bring up the status. You could bring this up before by pressing tab or space here. But, you know, just to make it a little simpler, you can... left click up there, and I added this little mouse icon to let people know. Just right click to close it, or escape works. But yeah, no surprises here really. Okay, let's get a pilot. It's not a live Merc stream if there isn't a bug being discovered. Yeah, you said it. Okay. Oh, and by the way, so yeah, Starcom, I know it's just a reversal of Comstar. I tried for a long time to come up with a better name, but I just love the name Starcom. You know, and partially it's because it kind of reminded me of like Stark Industries. But Starcom, they're not just a copy paste of Comstar. Comstar was this like ancient order of technology wizards. Starcom is like Google. They're like a tech company, and they're not mysterious and they're not wizards. They're just literally like a tech conglomerate that happens to run a whole bunch of stuff. They also are the only power in the core that has outposts and operates outside the core. So one other thing about the core is that they're actually quite insular. They don't really go beyond the core, but Starcom does. And so Starcom actually advises the Star Regent on the goings-on of the core and a little bit beyond. You know, they don't fully tell the Star Regent everything because, you know, they don't owe him a particular allegiance. They are their own company and they have their own agenda. But, you know, they operate in the core, but they don't necessarily consider themselves like, you know, the core is our home because they have power beyond the core as well. But they deal with communications like Comstar does, but they also deal with interplanetary travel, technology. They actually have an intelligence service that advises the Star Regent. So, you know, they're, again, just more like a company that does a lot of tech stuff and space stuff. What are their long distance rates? TBD. Did you know that pilots at the bar are free? I personally have 35 mech warriors in my... You know what, though? You got to go in with angel eyes, right? It's all about, you know, those first few opening moments when you talk to the pilot at the bar. That's where you hook them in. If you go in with a bad opener, they're not coming home with you. So that's basically why they were free for me. You got to have game. Anyway, okay, so stepping into the StarCom facility, you're engulfed by a sense of technological marvel. StarCom is the Corps' premier technology company. It diligently manages communications, interstellar travel, and the Corps' intelligence. To know the future, trust in StarCom. A young receptionist greets you. Welcome to StarCom. How can we help you? There will be a newsnet. This was a feature we added late in BattleMercs' lifetime, which wasn't essential, but was a little bit fun. It would tell you news stories and flavor for the universe. And I have a whole bunch of news articles for events that happen in the MetalMercs universe, sort of drafted up. So I will eventually add those in, and then that's a way that if you're curious, if you don't care about any of this lore stuff, skip it, not going to hurt you. But if you are curious about like what's actually going on and like why are the houses doing what they're doing and so on, you'll be able to check in with news, and there will be actually news stories to read up on. And the trading net is down in the demo. But anyway, let's go into the contracts. This is one of the cool new features here that I wanted to show off. So essentially there's no, well, it's not that there could never be, but at least in the demo, there's no such thing as single missions anymore. If you guys remember in BattleMercs, there were single missions, and then there were long-term contracts. Essentially, every contract in MetalMercs is a long-term contract, and you can see the mission map over here. The mission map shows you which missions are in this contract, and when you see a split, a green and red split, this is showing you that if you beat this mission, this will be your next mission. But if you fail this mission, this will be your next mission, and then you'll have to do this one. So this is showing me that if I beat the first mission, I only have to beat one more, and then I've successfully completed the contract. But if I fail the first mission, then I'm going to have to beat two more. If you fail a mission that doesn't have a red line, then that fails the entire contract. So you can still drop the whole contract by failing one mission, but you'll see that almost every mission has a mission that, if you fail it, there's still a way to carry forward in the contract. So in future, I'd like to see these mission maps get a little more complex. And one thing I'd like to add eventually is choice. So maybe after you beat this mission, you get to choose, do you want this one or this one next? And, having that choice of where you go in a long-term contract, I think is fun. But one of the reasons I wanted to make missions all like this is I think the missions in BattleMercs were the most fun when they were connected one after the other, because then it also made salvage matter. Like, if you just completed one mission and that was it, you were never going to pick the armor or the repairs or any of that stuff from the salvage pool, right? Because what's the point? But if every single mission has a follow-up mission or two, you have to kind of think after every mission, man, I really want to buy that mech from the salvage pool, but I also probably should repair my units, So that's kind of a choice I wanted to thrust onto the player in pretty much every contract. And yes, you can finally tell in advance how many missions there are, what they're going to be. You can hover over them to get little descriptions. So all of this helps sort of, long-term contracts before it was like, you have 5 missions, good luck. And then you find out halfway through they're all escort missions and you're screwed. This at least lets you see, okay, I got to do a distracting raid, and then, okay, so can I handle this, or is this not the kind of contract I want to take? So anyway, so that's how the mission map works. So we can, so let me find a contract that I actually might want to do here. So this is a full scale, this would be a large battle. Let's try and find something that's not gonna crush us. Temporary, those distracting ones kind of suck. Okay, why don't we just try this one? We could always fail the first mission. It just gets harder from there, so that's great. Okay, so this is the mission that we'll focus on for now. Oh, and by the way, these difficulty bars, I think they're all just at 3 in the demo. Eventually, these will scale depending on the difficulty of the contract, but for now, I should also say in the demo, I'm not 100% sure if the contracts are balanced at the moment. So, there might be some super unfair ones and some super easy ones. I guess it's kind of the life of the mercenary, right? Okay, so like before, there are different things you can negotiate. Previously, though, when you clicked, you just have to scroll the mouse or whatever. Now, when you click, you can actually see the maximum and the minimum you're allowed to pick and a few intermediate options. So, advance is just how much money you're going to get paid immediately. Per mission is the amount that is paid to you after every successful mission. So, you know, so for this mission, we get 845K after this mission, then after this mission, then after this mission, and then after this, or not after this one, this would get the fulfillment pay. So per mission pay is basically like, let's say you go into a mission and you complete 3 of the 4 missions and then you fail the contract. You'll still have gotten paid out 3 times because you did 3/4 of the mission. You just won't get the fulfillment payment. This is like the big bonus at the end if you actually complete the contract. So this only gets paid when you complete the last mission. These get paid for every other mission that you complete. If I fail this first mission and go over here, I don't get paid anything. They don't pay me. Okay, Salvage has been reworked too. Balance is for fools, somebody says in the chat. Yes, I like that. So, look, we can't make payroll this month, but once this mission is done, you're all totally getting paid if you live. That is the right mentality of a mercenary. Salvage has gotten revamped too. So previously, it was like, how many salvage picks do you want? And a pick could be anything from an entire mech to just, you know, like repairing the armor on one mech. Now, you have salvage tokens. And the way tokens work is that mechs that you can salvage will cost somewhere between, you know, 3 and 5 tokens, or maybe 6. I forget what the actual limit is. You know, weapons will be in the range of like 1 to 3 tokens. Armor repairs are just 1 token. So, you know, now if you want that mech, that might take you 5 tokens. You know, you're going to get a whole mech, but there's a lot of other stuff you could get for 5 tokens. So mechs are a little more expensive in the salvage bay, but it, I think, makes the salvage more interesting and more balanced. Because again, before, if you saw a mech that you could salvage, why the hell would you take an armor repair? Because that's 1 pick each. But now the mech is 5 times the cost. Maybe 5 armor repairs actually is better. You might need the repairs or something. So yeah, so having some tokens is good. You also get tokens per mission completed, just like per mission pay. So you could negotiate this up. You know, if it's, you know, a contract like this, you might want your tokens per mission really high so that you're constantly getting more and more tokens. You might need them to pay for repairs between missions, or you can just accumulate them and spend them on stuff that shows up later on in the subject pool that looks cool to you. Options per mission is how many salvage options do you want in that list. So 12 is the default. You can go all the way up to 20. So this can be quite long. You have like a long list to look through. But you can see here now that what's happened to my contract is basically every one of these values I want to negotiate up. So these are all, green means above the starting point. Blue means the starting point. Yellow means below the starting point. So this is a small little feature to help you so you don't lose track of, like, you know, is this actually a good value or am I negotiating down? So let's see what happens when we offer them. In fact, I'm going to knock fulfillment up because I don't want them to accept my offer. I want them to come back. So I make an offer. Okay, so they've countered me, and you can see they actually reduced the number of units I can take into battle, reduced the average size of my units. Remember, size is a parameter separate from tons. It's how big your mech is, and it tells you whether you can take a mech into battle. And they're reducing my advance pay. So with the colors, I can very quickly see what they've reduced on me and what is still above the starting point. Yeah. So let's say, okay, I want to negotiate a bit more. Let's say I want those base tokens. You know, I want to negotiate with these guys more. I'm going to put everything else up. So I just want I'm asking for the moon. They're going to say no. But let's just say, you know what? I'm just going to lock in base tokens, and I'm going to lock in the per mission pay. Those are 2 things that I do not want you to change in your offer back to me. Those are now locked, and they won't change it in the counter offer. And then when it comes back, oh yeah, somebody says I should make this announcement on Discord. I'll pause for a second. I'll make that announcement. But so I've locked these 2 features, and now in the contract negotiations, those will not change unless I change them. So in their counter offer, they're locked in. So being able to lock features should help you negotiate contracts more easily. You can only lock 1 pay feature at a time and 1 salvage feature. So, you know, if you can't lock tokens and tokens per mission. Basically, they need to be able to change something. Deployment limit should be lockable too. Yeah, that's true. That may come in the next demo. Let me put a link to this in the Discord. So timeout. Let this all soak in for a second here. Let's see. Announcements. Live stream is going live. Boink. Don't miss the live stream. Okay. Now, you know, anyone who misses the live stream, this is going to be a video afterwards, so it's not that big a deal. You thought it was, Josh thought it was Twitch. Yeah, no, it's just YouTube. I haven't used Twitch in so long. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, so no rush is something that bugged me before. Yeah, that's it's not a bad idea to be able to lock units in size. And oh, there was some other feature. There's a handful of like little features that I've jotted down. But anyway, it's again neither here nor there. Okay, I should actually look at my mechs before I take a contract here. So let me just see. Okay, so I don't have a single mech over the size of 3. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I only have 8 mechs. I might buy another mech. It might be useful to have one more. Let's see. Trade some metal. Well, literally, even the cheapest, dirtiest mech is out of my price range. The slugger. All right. The hardest part is software. Priority is the hardest part of. Yeah, it is. Okay. So let's come back here. Okay, let's see what we can do. Okay, here's my thinking. I don't know if we're going to beat this mission. So I'm willing to take a low fulfillment, but I just want as much money as possible for whatever mission I can complete. And I want the advance. I want the advance. We'll say that. Okay, 10 is as small as it gets. 3 is fine, because that's as small as it gets. And then we'll say having these higher would be nice. Okay, what do you say to that? Oh, they accepted my offer. All right, so we did it. So we got a little money. Oh, when you have an accepted mission now, it will now tell you so that you don't forget you've got one. So that's a nice feature. So, I don't know, I guess let's just do it and we'll see how this first mission goes. The tons are a bit weird. You should probably knock a 0 off at the end of them. Okay, so we're going to take our best mechs first. So we got our Patriot, our Crossfire. You know what? I should have modded these things. Although 3 firebrands, maybe we could melt some mechs. So, just like in BattleTech, if you're going to go with like fire-based weapons, you kind of have to go all in. Just having one mech that's occasionally spouting a flamer at the enemies is not going to do very much. But firebrands are sort of the Union's fire-based mech. And they have basically sort of 4 flame-based weapons. So at least you'll get to see it. And then we've got our Slugger and our Alpha Wolf. So you can see in our contract negotiations, we had 10 units at 3 space. So that if you do the math, 10 times 3, that means we have 30 space total. So that's just basically how deployment works. I can take up to 10 units, and just the total space has to be less than the number of units times the space per unit. So if I wanted, I could bring like a bigger guy in. If I had a guy that was like 4 space units, like a bigger mech, I could have brought him in, and I've got the space for it, but can't at the moment. We got to get some more mechs. If not, we'll just cheat. There's a couple you didn't hear from me, but I know a few ways to cheat in this game, and I can get more money if we need to. I've got contacts. Okay. Josh says he needs to go to bed, but he hopes to play the demo. Josh, you will get an email with the demo, man. Hope you enjoy it. All right. So what is this mission anyway? Large-scale engagement. So large-scale engagement is where there's going to be a bunch of guys on our side, and we're going to be fighting alongside them to try and take out a bunch of enemies. So one good thing about this kind of mission is you can kind of hang back and let the AI take a lot of damage. Like let your buddy take a bunch of damage while you just sort of pelt the enemy. The problem is if you hang back too much, they can all get overrun, and then you're screwed. Okay, so here's the Union forces running off. So there's a lot of light mechs. I think what we can try and do is just focus down the enemies. This is very minor, but if you notice, the trees are different. I made those. I made some sprites. I'm not a sprite guy, but I made new trees. I made new paths as well. You can see these. I made these all from scratch. And my goal is to replace all the graphics, again, not with totally dissimilar stuff, but just with more unique stuff that is legit handmade from scratch, belonging to MetalMercs. And I have an artist or two who might be able to help with that, which would really save me a lot of time, because I don't even want to tell you how long it took me to make these trees. I don't even know if they look good to you guys, but it took a while. Here's one little feature you might be noticing. Numbers are popping off mechs as they get damaged. So this, basically, every time a mech gets hit, if it's armor damage, you'll see that armor float off as a number in yellow. If it's internal, it'll be red. The more the damage, the bigger the number. So you can see this 10 is physically larger than the 3. Also, if you notice below every mech, there are three or four or five little white squares. These represent their weapons. So for instance, here's my mech here. His missile launcher, he's fired his missiles. They're now just charging up, so his fourth little square is gray. He's got 3 active weapons that are ready to fire, so they are white. It might be hard to see, it's a little subtle, but if mechs get damaged weapons, those will turn red. If they run out of ammo, those will turn black. If they get stunned, they'll turn blue. So you can sort of glance without having to click on mechs to see, okay, who has a lot of their weapon systems incapacitated? Who's in a lot of trouble here, or who isn't. So let's try and focus some of these guys down. Where are all my other guys? Oh my god, they're so slow. You stupid patriot. That's the other thing, is there's a bigger gap between the speeds of light and heavy mechs in this one. So light mechs really do sort of get on the battlefield significantly faster. They can raid stuff, they can get away, and heavier mechs indeed are heavier. It's hard to see in this chaos of battle, but if you keep an eye out for it, you'll see rockets. They're red tipped with orange flames, and they kind of go in like a wavy formation. They kind of look like tadpoles almost, and they fire in big bursts, whereas missiles, again, fire in like streams. So you might notice that as we're going. You'll see crit popping off mechs as they take critical hits. Stun might pop off. Ammo exp might pop off, which means ammo explosion. I'm gonna try and keep focusing down. Oh, there's a guy got in here. I'm gonna try and focus down as many enemies as fast as we can. Uh-oh, did all my guys die? Did all the friendly guys just get obliterated? Oh, this is bad. Yeah, I think a large-scale battle like this is difficult to show off all the new weapons. Oh, I just got stunned. Okay, so you can see here, my rocket system actually, I took a hit from a high-energy cannon, and now it's stunned. And if we stay focused on this for a while, you see it just sort of remains frozen for a bit, then eventually it counts down, and now it's open. Oh, but it had no ammo anyway, so that's great news for us. Oh my god, we're screwed. We're screwed. They were, you know, I mean, to be fair, they made the contract so we could bring in about twice the tonnage of mechs that we did. Oh, somebody just got killed. This is bad. Okay, here's, you know, with the white dots, they've turned yellow. That means these weapons are at half ammo or below. So yellow is like you're running out of ammo. Here's a red dot. So yeah, you can kind of get a sense more easily how weapons are faring. Oh my god. All right. It is time to abandon the mission, man. Okay, we got screwed there. Your retreat on the battlefield has angered the Confederate Vanguard Union. Mercenaries are expected to complete their contract. I'm sorry, okay? I got a little overwhelmed. We'll do better next time, I swear. At least I can show you the patch or repair all button. So this button, I'll just say, has the potential to not always work 100%, but I think it does. At the very least, it'll repair many of your mechs. But yeah, so you can just sort of click through and repair mechs one at a time piecemeal, or just click repair all. And then that should have repaired all my mechs, which I think it did. So, so Herzelberzel says that he'd love to stay, but my fellas and I owed visits to some friends. Hey man, no worries. Thank you for popping in. Feel free to check out the rest of this later, because it will be a video if you're curious. But otherwise, I hope you're able to check out the demo at some point. That goes for anyone, if anyone has to take off. But feel free to, like, say bye if you want. I'm not saying don't say bye, but also, no worries, man. All right, let's see if we can find an easier contract. Oh, look, actually, this one does have an easier level. So look at this. Just defend a supply depot. This game has lots of potential. I'd love to see it in Steam Early Access once it's in playable state. Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great idea. It's sort of a pipe dream of mine. I have no, you know, I say I have no idea if it's going to happen. I think with all things in life, if you stick with something long enough, you can make things happen. And, you know, I would love to keep working on this and get it to a point where we could put it on Steam. I think there's still graphics in this game I'd want to replace. Just, again, to make it 100% authentically original. I mean, what I mean is some of the tile sets and stuff are from the old Crescent Hawks games. That's what I'm talking about here. I want to replace all those, obviously. It will just take some time. But once we're at that stage, you know, if people would love to see it, I would love to put it there. So, yeah, I think it'd be awesome. Anyway, okay, we don't have 12 mechs. And we didn't, I think we only, like, 20 units of space was tons for us. We'll leave it at that. So now here's the thing. This one we might actually be able to do. Defend a supply depot and then eliminate a garrison. Okay, so why don't we do... You know what? I don't care about advanced pay. Per mission pay is crazy high, though. Oh my god. You know, here's an idea. Per mission pay at 2 million, we don't even need the final pay to be all that much, because we're getting tons of money. And again, we're getting paid per mission, so it's sort of like a safety thing if we don't complete the whole contract. Let's give that a shot. Let's try and get our tokens up, because I would like to salvage things. Let's just sort of see what they say to that. 10 at 15. Okay. Can you go up to 20? I don't know if we need 20 or not. I can't remember, but... And they'll even cut the advance pay down a bit. How about that? But give me another token. And more options. Okay, you know what? How about... I don't need an advance. Let's see what they say. They countered again. Shit. Okay, whatever. I'm in. You son of a bitch, I'm in. We should probably hire some pilots, because I think some guys died. Oh no! Maybe words got out. They're like, don't work for Jay. It's terrible. There's a high chance you'll get murdered. Okay. Also, I think I would like to mod my mechs at some point, because I'm not... I feel like especially these firebrands, I don't know. I don't know, I get maybe it was a bad mission to test them in. Maybe they'll fare better. Alpha Wolf. Okay, let's see how this works. So somebody asked, I love mech games like Super Robot, but this is definitely more RTS. How would you describe it? RTS RPG? Yeah, it's I'd say light on the RPG, heavy on the RTS. It's like a tactical, it's like a small business simulator kind of. You're running a little business where you have to buy and sell mechs and take them into combat and preferably not destroy them all. But yeah, there's a bit of RPG elements to this. It's light though. Okay, so here's a defense mission. Everybody's favorite, because the enemy just runs in, destroys the building. Although if you do engage them, they will sort of stop running at the building and they will attack you. So kind of distract them. We also have some turrets supporting us, which is nice. Yeah, come get some. You little punks. You're not getting to this building, whatever it is. Oh god. Now stray shots from you or the enemies can hit the building you're defending and damage it, so even if the enemies aren't targeting you, if they're running around near the building, it's not good because somebody's shots might accidentally damage and destroy it. But we seem to be melting these guys, which is good. Well, they want more, eh? Down they go. One of the things that I hope to improve in a later version of this is the combat AI. This has been true since BattleMercs, but when you tell your mechs to engage the enemy, oh, here's a guy who's overheated. Look, his heat is at the max. Look, he's just dripping internal structure. It's just bleeding off of him. So you can see, again, the heat scale, very different in MetalMercs compared to BattleTech. New mission complete screen, which is kind of fun. Slams down and then shows you everything that you got from the mission. And here's our first salvage screen. We actually beat a mission, guys. I'd high five you, but you're all not physically here. So here's some options. So again, there's a bit of repair components. Actually, this is a crazy salvage screen. It's mostly mechs, which is kind of handy. You can also, so now you can see your mechs. You can see mechs you didn't bring into combat. You can also see all the parts and the mods that you own in your unit's inventory. I don't happen to own any, but for instance, if I salvage this medium laser, it would immediately show up in my parts list. So that's just so you can track, like, what do I actually already own, and do I want to salvage any of this stuff? So that's one of the things to see. So here, let me show you the new salvage mechanism. So first of all, if we want, we could salvage this vagabond, which I probably should. In fact, I think I will, but I want to show you. So previously, you'd have these wrecked chassis on the battlefield, and first of all, it'd be unidentified, so you wouldn't know what it was. I got rid of the unidentified part. Nobody really liked it. I thought it was kind of like opening a present, like you never know what you're gonna get, but people didn't really like it. I listened to the feedback. I thought, okay, you know what, actually it is kind of annoying to not know what it is. So from now, you even a wrecked mech, you know what it is. But previously it said 40% chance of salvage. You'd pick it, and you either got it or you didn't. Now when you pick it, here's what you get. You get a little prompt that says you have a 40% chance of getting it if you spend 2 tokens. But you have the slider bar and you can spend more tokens. You can spend up to 3 more, so you can't get it to 100%, but you can play with the odds. So you can say, how many tokens do I actually want to spend here? So 40% chance for 2, or you can bump it up, or just play the odds. Since we have one that I can just get for 3 here, I'm definitely just going to take this one. So I'll go ahead and buy this vagabond for 3 tokens. Now the question is, do I want a medium laser? Oh wait, did that... What? Why is it doing that? Okay, so that's a bug. It should have taken that out of the list. If I salvage it again, that will screw it up, so... I'll have to... it's a little late to change it for the demo, but just a word of warning, if you take the same mech more than once, it might be a little glitchy on you. Why don't we roll the dice here? Let's even get one more Vagabond here. Let's go for it. Okay, so now we get a little progress bar, and... Oh, it made it! We got it! You can press a button, it will speed that bar up. You don't have to sit there the whole time, but it's a fun little graphic to give you a little bit of anticipation in your life. Anyway, that was good. Okay, I guess let's leave it at that. Nobody is damaged enough. Or that guy is. So do I want to repair his internals? I'll say no. We'll just chance it. Okay, our next mission is... We have a garrison force that we have to eliminate. Many medium mechs. That doesn't sound good. I feel like we should just straight up abandon this contract. Let's see how it goes. Oh, somebody says there were 2 Vagabonds. Okay, that's good. I thought it messed up and I picked a Vagabond and then it didn't pick it out. Okay. Now, Union mechs, they're not necessarily the slowest in the game, but they're sort of like more medium speed, and the Union does have some faster mechs, like the Vagabond, but it basically has the Vagabond and the Raptor, and those are its 2 dedicated scouts. The rest of its mechs kind of move a little more like this, so we basically don't have a scout at the moment. And that is something I kind of wish I had. I'm gonna check to see if there's any environmental signatures here. Any water ripples or anything. Well, tell me where the enemies are. Here's one little feature that I'm planning to add is when you move through forests, I'm planning to have the forest rustle a little bit. And just like the water ripples, that happens whether a mech is visible on the screen or not. So if a bunch of enemies are moving through a forest, you can kind of see it happening and know that kind of roughly where they are, but you don't know how many there are or, you know, exactly where they're moving and stuff. So I kind of like those environmental signatures on the maps. In snow or sand, you can see footprints being left behind. I know it doesn't make 100% sense, because if you can see the footprints, why can't you see the mech? But it's one of those things that just is kind of fun in a video game, so it is what it is. So here's long-range missiles, or just missiles being fired. They're called missiles. And there's some rockets being fired, and then flamers, and basically, well, that's everything being fired at this guy. He's getting it all. He's getting everything there is. I'm just gonna stand in the water, and I'm gonna make sure to cycle mechs if I need to. Ammo explosion. In future, the ammo explosions are going to be more visual. You'll see a bunch of sort of like popcorn explosions going off all around a mech that's experiencing an ammo explosion. Right now, it just says ammo explosion, and that will stay to keep it, you know, noticeable. But ever since the BattleMercs days, oh my god, I think it's time to surrender. Okay, this is such a slow start. Okay, we failed again, but we got some money. Oh, that's a bug. So my in memoriam of my dead pilot is showing their portrait way off. So this is one of the features that existed near the end of BattleMercs is, you know, some contracts relocate you. So we've now been relocated to Daxton's domain, which is one of the planets in the Union. We're now over here. We used to be on Starhold. Starhold was their capital. Now we're in Daxton's Dominion. Did I leave Titan on? No, you can't travel there right now. When you are relocated by a contract, you will end up on another planet owned by the faction whom you're working for. So if you're working for the Union, if you relocate, it will be to some other Union planet at the end of your contract. The fighting may occur on an enemy planet, but you'll end up back on a Union-friendly planet. All right, let's Ooh, all the repairs are pretty cheap. I think I pulled out just in time. And get your minds out of the gutter, guys. Okay. The question is... Can we... Oh, wait. Mechs are so much cheaper here. You know what? I was on a capital planet where things are expensive. Hey, why don't we buy and sell some mechs for a bit? We could do that, right? So let's see. Vagabonds. Why don't we pick up a couple of these puppies? We'll do 1 vagabond, 2 vagabonds. And then let's see if we can go sell them. And then we'll make a little bit of money this way. Only 70k to travel, there's pretty good. You may be noticing there's that little load spinner in the bottom right corner. Tiny little feature, took me a little while to add, and I'm actually really happy I got it in there. Previously the game would just sort of sit there while you waited for things to load. Man, actually I think the profits on these things are like nothing. I think I made 500k at most. Okay, so that's not a good strategy. But let me just go... So different planets sell things for different amounts. Key military base and production center. Yeah, so that might be where you get the cheapest mechs. Gleaming metropolises. Nah. Usually worlds that are factory worlds, and this is true in BattleMercs too, you can get stuff cheaper. Album member. Let's check here. Maybe they might have some cheap mechs. Well, you're getting to see some of the other mechs in the Union. There's the Hammerhead, there's Dragoon, Crossfire. Okay, hold on. I'm going to travel to 1 or 2 more planets, but we might cheat a little just so we can have a few bigger mechs. There's their prison planet, by the way. Of course, the Confederate Vanguard Union will call their prison planet Freedom. It's just so right. Bustling economy. Ooh, advanced manufacturing. That... It's usually like advanced manufacturing or like military manufacturing is what you want to know. Or what you want to find if you want to find, like, well-priced mechs. Oh, there we go. We could buy an Alpha Wolf for 8 million. The problem is that still kind of sucks. All right. Just pretend you didn't see anything. Oh, 1 million. Okay, that's actually a lot. I don't want to cheat that hard. Okay, let's do this. This is a special menu, a super secret menu. We'll do money plus equal, or I set it to 100 million by accident. Let's do 20, 1, or 50, 1, 2, 3. There we go. All right. We have a rich uncle who decided to invest in us. Our vehicle is something that will be in the game in the future. I mentioned that a little earlier in the stream, and the short answer was vehicles are in some missions. They are not currently for sale, and they may not be for sale anytime soon, but even with BattleMercs, people had figured out a way to mod them in. It's not that hard, so people might do that again. They may eventually show up as things you can buy and take into combat, but for the moment, the focus is on the mechs. All right, let's have some fun. Let's buy a Liberator, Hammerhead, a Jackman. We're rapidly running out of cash again. That's okay. We need to have some limits on life. Galvin's Forge. It's a training ground. We'll try Liberty's End. We have 20k left. I'd like to buy one other. Oh, Gallimimus would be nice. You know, it's you can look at it and see, but it's sort of like the MetalMercs equivalent to an Awesome, which was one of my favorite BattleTech mechs. Just, you know, 3 PPCs. This has 4 HECs, which ends up working a little differently, but it's similar. sort of a spiritual cousin, we could say. Couldn't afford those, though. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Oh, a 13 million, or I want to say million. A 13,000 one. Yes, I will take it. Here's some of the other mechs. So the Brigadier. This is basically like a missile and rocket boat. You have the Challenger, which is sort of big-ish. And then we've seen Hammerheads and Dragoons. We've seen Crossfires and Vagabonds. All right. Let's patch these dudes up. Bring these dudes into line with the dude party. Let's actually see if we can mod some stuff. 12 Rocket Bay. Sure, I guess. Let's see if we can mod at least one mech here. So here's our good old Gallimimus. Oh, and here's one fun thing about mechs. Remember how I told you that there's level 1 and level 2 weapons? Well, mechs that you buy will sometimes have random upgrades. So notice this mech actually has one free space. It's like having one free ton, basically. And that's because one of its weapons is actually a level 2 HEC. So if we look at it, you know, the level 2 does 7 points of heat damage to the enemy and 10 base damage of normal damage. Only causes 14 heat to yourself. And it only basically weighs 8 tons. That's sort of how you read this. The level 1 weighs 9 tons, or takes up 9 space units on a mech, and it only causes 5 heat damage to the enemy and causes 15 heat to yourself. So this one's a little cooler for you, a little warmer for the enemies, and it takes a little less space. So that's kind of nice. It cost me 50k to pull that off and put it back on, just to show you, though. So you can move items around now in the mod bay, just like, and it won't cost anything. But if you take something off and then put it back on, then you have to pay to put it back on. Taking stuff off doesn't cost anything anymore. So this mod bay has been revamped quite a bit from how it used to operate in BattleMercs. Oh my god, did that not... Wait, what is happening here? How did that duplicate? Interesting. All right, well, you know what? There's a little bug. There's a few bugs to still sort out. It's okay. Is there anyone I can mod in like an interesting way? Okay, so I have an HEC that I could put on. Maybe these firebrands. They're so dependent on these flamers, but I'm not convinced these weapons are super balanced yet. What if we put one of these guys on? Then I guess we could leave one torture on. Okay, that's not bad. A little HEC upgrade for them. And then the nice thing is this thing now has tons of ammo. It has 3 units of ammo for just it. That's like a nice little boost. All right. You can also rename your dudes. So I'm going to redesignate these so that I remember that they actually have these weapons. There we go. All right. Yeah, that's good enough. Let's do another mission or two. Let's see. Oh my god, that one's so long. I almost want to fail and then just do this. Okay, so let's pretend like it's probably true that we're going to fail. So it got duplicated when you dragged it into the left window and then put it back without dropping it. Ah, okay. All right, so there might be a few duplication bugs in this. Enjoy, have at it, you rascals. It's an early demo, so it's okay if there's a few things that are incomplete, frankly. So in the Discord, there's a section for reporting bugs. For anyone who is playing the demo, if you do encounter bugs like that, reporting them and describing how they happen and how to reproduce them is very handy. And I will start looking there again. for bug reports so that I can fix these things. So if you can report bugs, I really appreciate that. Okay, so I want my permission... No, wait. Permission pay doesn't matter. I want my fulfillment to be high. Basically, I'm just trying to get more money right now. You know, I want more... I literally want everything. Okay, hold on. The advance I don't care about because it's too small to matter. Let's just see what happens. If I were to say this, what would they come back at me with? Oh, wow, that is not nearly as... Oh, they put the permission pay way down. 1.5... It kind of cancels itself out. Okay, you know what? I'll accept that. I'll have so many options at Salvage. 3... Let's give it a shot. And we should hire some crew. Because our guys keep dying like jerks. Yeah. Yeah. Alright. Alright, off we go. Once more into the breach, fellas. Now, we got some new big boys here. The Gallimimus and the Liberator. Surely, there's no way we can lose this mission now. And our Hammerhead. And our Patriot. I'm pretty sure these guys are all slow. Oh no, the Hammerhead's actually decently sped up. I kind of want to keep guys of similar speed in the same group. Just easier to kind of like keep them all together when I'm moving them around the battlefield. So let's see what happens here. We have our Hammerhead. Okay, so here's our Jackman. And he's got 2 light caliber Vulcans and 2 heavy lasers. The light caliber Vulcans, again, you know, autocannon 2s basically sucked in Battletech. But light caliber Vulcans are actually pretty decent. So hopefully we'll get to sort of see that. I don't know if it'll be easy to notice or not, but it'll at least be in combat. Then we got our Firebrands. You know, we actually have tons of mechs. I wish we had more space now. Damn it. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna bring the 3 Firebrands. Wait, I'm gonna bring the... I don't want that one. Instead, we'll go with... this guy. Okay, we need more crew. Alright. Oh, did I miss somebody? I did. A mini radar for detecting target could be useful. Yeah, something like that is a good idea. You are correct. So a feature like that may come in future. Just regrouping some of these guys. Okay, so here's 1, 2, and 3. What is our mission again? Oh, I have to protect the convoy. That's, I feel like, almost definitely not going to happen. Oh, this is the mission that I said I wouldn't mind if I failed. Okay, so here's some vehicles. Actually, they're still basically the Battletech vehicles. I haven't swapped out their stats yet, so... you know. I think, yeah, they even have machine guns and SRM, so there you go. There's a little whisper of Battletech still in the game. I don't like all this combat that's happening with my mechs. I kind of wanted to, like, throw this first mission. I'm gonna keep backing off here. Die! Get away from me. Okay. Now we'll just slowly let the convoy get whittled down. Convoy missions are difficult. You basically need maneuverable forces, and I just do not have that right now. In fact, convoy missions may be unbalanced. I think maybe a big revamp for them could be having the convoy move to a certain location and then wait for you, and then move to the next location. You know what I mean? Like move more in a staggered manner. Because the way it works is just sort of like the convoy gets moving, and if you don't keep up, it's like, that's that. See ya. Okay, because I failed that mission, I didn't get a chance to salvage. But I do have 6 tokens waiting if I pass this mission here. So many medium mechs want to fight me. Well, I'm going to introduce them to the Liberator and the Gallimimus, and we'll see how that fight goes. Let's go crush some scrubs. Destroy the enemies. Alright. That's a new addition, too, that wasn't around in the BattleMercs era. When you start a mission, it kind of says in big letters what you're supposed to do. This is like a little reminder. Do any of my guys have jump jets? No. Jump jets are actually something that in MetalMercs is a little more rare than in BattleTech. So the Union is one of only 2 houses to actually use jump jets in the MetalMercs universe. And again, it's just sort of an attempt to make things feel more differentiated and to just make certain technologies matter more. So like jump jets are cool, but when every mech, or almost every mech could have jump jets, it sort of takes away, I think, from their specialness. So when they're slightly rarer, I think it makes them matter more. And when you see a mech with jump jets, you're actually like, huh, like maybe I want to use that mech. We have big heavy mechs with lots of long-range weaponry, so I want to engage these guys from as far as possible. These big open fields are good for me. Down you go. Stun! Crit! Crit! That's what you like to see. They're firing cannons at us. There's rockets. Shoot them! Take them down, boys! Focus fire this guy down. Oh, I set it so that you can just right-click on an enemy to focus fire them too. So previously you had to click target or press T, but just as like a minor UI thing, you can just right-click now. I think a lot of people were trying that. It's more intuitive, but it just wasn't in. I don't know. I can't tell you why it wasn't there. It just wasn't. It's in now. Oh, ammo explosion took that guy down. Who's this guy? Oh, he's a firebrand. He's trying to melt. Oh, see, so this guy's overheated a bit, and you can watch his internals dripping away. Same with this guy. The overheating mechanic I like. It's actually, you know, Harebrained Studios does it in their game too, so it's not like some original thing I totally invented. But I like it, and I've considered maybe that flame-based weapons need to melt mechs faster, but then it's sort of like, it's one of those things that if you do have a mech that's really overheated and he's low on health, you're just like, oh man, he's just done. There's just no way to save him. And you just watch his health tick away and then he dies a few seconds later. So it's sort of like one of those balancing things of like, how deadly do you make the flaming weapons? If you make them too deadly, it's almost too much, and then not deadly enough, they're ineffective. So I'm not 100% sure I've got the right spot for the flame weapons yet, but look at this. Also, I'm pretty sure... Never mind. Pretty sure this is our last mission. So, let's... Basically... We should try and salvage mechs, of course. I will take a high energy can. So here's the thing where it's like now tokens matter, right? Like, you know, 2 tokens for this. I could have 1 token. Ooh. Oh, 4 tokens for a medium Vulcan cannon, though. But medium Vulcan cannons are good. The auto guns. Okay. What do I got here? Torture, 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 torture. I'm kind of contemplating taking this. No, it's not worth it. Let's go with these guys. A 35% chance. 6 tokens. Come on, baby. Yeah, we got it. Oh, what the heck? It didn't even take away. Okay. We're going to have to make a list of these bugs. They're supposed to take 6. It took 3. I don't know. I'm going to make a little list over here. Bear with me while I make some notes here. Okay, the wrecked salvage is not taking away the bonus tokens. What other bugs did we detect? Oh, the memoriam screen. The pilot image wasn't centered. You can duplicate items in the mod bay. And I'll just say items in the salvage bay may not get removed properly. I'm not sure if that was true or not. Anyway, okay. Whatever, let's just roll with it. These tokens are free. Live large. Oh yeah, 2 firebrands. Oh yeah, pilots were free. Thank you, Alan Johnson. Pilots were free. All right, well, I got things to work on for the next demo, in addition to the next house. See, I want that Vulcan, but the problem is now I can't afford the ammo bay. But I might as well take it, I think. Yes. All right, there we go. And we got 5.7 million. Boom. Oh, and we came to Galvin's Forge, too. All right, let's... Uh-oh. Oh no, the game crashed! I'll have to go investigate that. Well, you know what? It was kind of getting there anyway. I wanted to do a little bit more, but maybe just like one more mission. But I think maybe we'll stop here anyway. Suitable, sad way to end the stream. No, you guys are gonna get to play this demo. As you can see, you know, there's still a little roughness around some of the edges. You know, to the degree that you guys spot bugs, if you can hop on the Discord and report that in the bugs section, that'd be a huge help. And, you know, the more bugs get reported, the more I can fix. And when Demo 2 comes rolling around in a couple of weeks, you guys will see lots of fixes, some more upgrades, a new house, lots of fun stuff. So, yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the stream here today. Yeah, for everyone who's thrown tons of people have been throwing donations and Patreon. For all you folks who've been doing that, that is so amazing. I really do appreciate that. And the more of you that do it, just the better we can make this. So, that's exciting for me. Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And, for those of you who have donated in one way or the other, you know, keep an eye out. I will send out an email soon with the demo. Although I might just take a few look. I might look over a few things this evening before I actually do that. So it'll probably be tonight or tomorrow that you get an email with the demo. And then for everyone else, you know, just keep an eye out. In about a week, I'll be releasing the public demo. And, you know, the best place to hear about that would be Discord. So join the Discord, pop on there periodically. There's lots of cool, fun people to talk to there anyway. And you can trade war stories or tips or bugs or exploits or whatever you want. And come harass me there. I'm there too. Guys, it has been fun. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what the future holds with MetalMercs. I hope you guys will stick around for it. So, yeah. Alrighty, guys, thank you. And we'll see you later. Peace.